You think the desert is empty at night. You drive down the I-10 from Phoenix to Tucson, watching the red taillights of semi-trucks fade into the distance, and you think it's just sand, saguaro cactus, and silence out there. But I know better. I know because I drive the specialized veterinary ambulance for a private clinic in Scottsdale. My job is to transport high-risk, critically injured, or dangerous animals between facilities under the cover of darkness. I've hauled tigers with toothaches, police dogs with gunshot wounds, and once, a chimpanzee that had bitten a woman's face off. I've seen it all. But there are rules to this job that they don't teach you in vet tech school. Rule 1. Always double-check the lock on the cage, even if the doctor says he checked it. Rule 2. If the heart rate monitor on the dashboard starts beeping a pattern that sounds like a song, pull over and cut the power. And Rule 3. The one I broke last night. If the animal in the back starts making sounds that don't belong to its species, do not, under any circumstances, look in the rearview mirror. Because sometimes, the thing in the cage isn't an animal anymore. And sometimes, it's just waiting for you to notice. My name is Sarah, and I've been driving the Night Arc for 2 years. It's a modified Mercedes Sprinter van, reinforced with steel mesh between the cab and the cargo area. The back is a mobile ICU, oxygen tanks, fluid pumps, crash kits, and heavy-duty containment crates bolted to the floor. It smells like rubbing alcohol, bleach, and that distinct, musky scent of fear that animals release when they know they're hurt. Tonight was supposed to be a milk run. Easy money. Pick up a patient from a private exotic animal holding facility in North Phoenix and transport it to a specialist surgeon in Tucson. The paperwork said Canis lupus, a wolf, illegal to own without a license. But the guy paying the bill had deep pockets and a lot of lawyers, so we didn't ask questions. I arrived at the pickup location at 11 p.m. It wasn't a house. It was a compound out in the desert near Cave Creek. High walls, cameras, security guards with rifles. They loaded the crate for me. It was a solid steel box with small ventilation holes. I couldn't see inside. The handler, a guy with a scar running through his eyebrow, handed me the clipboard. He looked shaken. His hands were trembling as he gave me the pen. He's heavily sedated, the handler said, not meeting my eyes. Ketamine and xylazine cocktail. You shouldn't wake up until you're well past Picacho Peak. I signed the form. Any special instructions? I asked. Just drive, he said. And Sarah? If he starts making noise, just turn the radio up. Don't talk back to him. I laughed nervously. Talk back to him? He's a wolf, not a parrot. The handler didn't laugh. He just slapped the side of the van and walked away quickly, like he couldn't wait to get behind the security gate. I got in, locked the doors, and started the engine. The GPS said 2 hours and 10 minutes to Tucson. I pulled out onto the dark road, the heavy crate in the back shifting slightly as the suspension adjusted. The first hour was boring. I merged onto the I-10 south, leaving the sprawling lights of the Phoenix metro area behind. The traffic thinned out as I passed the Gila River Indian community. It was just me and the darkness. The dashboard glowed green, showing me the vitals of the cargo in the back. Heart rate, 60 beats per minute. Respiration, steady. Oxygen saturation, 98%. He was out cold. I turned on a podcast to keep myself awake. Just some true crime stuff, people talking about cold cases. It was soothing in a weird way. The desert flew by outside, black shapes of mountains cutting off the stars. We passed Casa Grande around midnight. That's when the weirdness started. It began with a smell. The van has a separate AC unit for the back to keep the animals cool, but the air circulates. I caught a whiff of something that wasn't bleach or wet dog. It smelled like sulfur and copper, like old pennies and rotten eggs. I wrinkled my nose and checked the dashboard. The vitals were still steady. Heart rate 60. Maybe I hit a skunk, I thought. Then came the sound. At first, I thought it was interference on the radio. A low, rhythmic thrumming sound. Thump thump, thump thump. I turned the radio down. The sound was coming from the back. It was the crate. The wolf was moving. I glanced at the vitals monitor. Heart rate, 60. That didn't make sense. If he was moving around, thrashing in the cage, his heart rate should be spiking. It should be 120, 140. But the line on the screen was perfectly flat, perfectly rhythmic. Artificial. I tapped the screen. Stupid machine, I muttered. It must be a sensor malfunction. I kept driving. I was in the middle of the dead zone between Casa Grande and Tucson. No streetlights. Just the reflective markers on the road flashing by. Zip, zip, zip. From the back, I heard a scratch. A long, slow drag of a claw against steel. Scrayawape. It set my teeth on edge. Hey, buddy, settle down back there, I called out instinctively. We're almost there. The scratching stopped immediately. Then, a voice spoke from the back of the van. It wasn't a human voice. It sounded like someone trying to speak with a throat full of gravel and blood. It was high-pitched, mocking, and impossible. Sarah? I slammed on the brakes before I could stop myself. The van screeched, tires smoking, as I pulled onto the gravel shoulder of the highway. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I sat there in the idling van, gripping the steering wheel. The silence of the desert rushed back in. Did I just hear that? I whispered. I'm hallucinating. I'm tired. The podcast was talking about a girl named Sarah. That's it. My brain just mixed it up. I looked at the partition. The steel mesh was thick, but there was a sliding plexiglass window, so I could visually check the patient. It was closed. I took a deep breath. Okay, get it together. Check the patient. Finish the drive. I unbuckled my seatbelt and turned around. I slid the plexiglass window open. The back of the ambulance was bathed in the dim red light of the night vision camera. The steel crate sat in the center of the floor, bolted down. Everything looked normal. I'm losing it, I whispered. Then, the voice came again. Louder this time. Clearer. Sarah, open the box. I scrambled back into my seat, fumbling for the door handle to get out, to run into the desert, to get away from whatever was in that box. But I stopped. You can't leave a sedated animal in a hot van in Arizona. You'll go to jail. You'll lose your license. I locked the doors. I hit the central locking button twice, just to be sure. Who is that? I shouted, my voice cracking. Is someone back there? Did a stowaway get in? A low, chattering laugh echoed from the crate. It sounded like a hyena mimicking a human laugh. No stowaway, Sarah. Just us. Just us dogs. I looked at the monitor. Heart rate, 60. Still perfectly 60. It's not the wolf, I told myself. It's a speaker. The guys at the compound, they're pranking me. It's a sick hazing ritual for the new driver. There's a Bluetooth speaker in the crate. That made me angry. The fear burned off into rage. They were messing with me while I was driving a 3-ton vehicle at 70 miles an hour. Very funny. I yelled at the partition. Real funny, guys. You got me. I put the van in drive and peeled out onto the highway. I was going to get this thing to Tucson, dump it at the vet's, and then I was going to call my boss and quit. I turned the radio up, blasting classic rock. I drowned out the silence. But the thing in the back didn't like the music. Bang. The entire van shuddered. Something hit the side of the crate with the force of a cannonball. Bang. The crate was steel. It was designed to hold a tiger. But the metal groaned. Turn it off, the voice hissed. But it wasn't coming from the crate anymore. It sounded like it was right next to my ear. I swerved, nearly clipping a semi-truck in the next lane. The trucker blasted his horn, a long, angry blare that faded behind me. I turned the radio off. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the wheel. What do you want? I whimpered. I'm hungry, Sarah, the voice said. It sounded like a child now. A little boy. It sounded exactly like my little brother, who lives in Ohio. I'm so hungry. The medicine makes me hungry. Stop it, I cried. Stop doing that voice. I looked in the rearview mirror. The interior lights of the cargo area were off, but the moonlight was coming through the back windows. The crate door, the heavy steel door with the triple lock mechanism, was open. It was swinging gently with the motion of the van. The crate was empty. My stomach dropped out of my body. I looked at the vitals monitor. Heart rate, 0. The sensors had been disconnected. I scanned the back of the van through the mesh partition. I couldn't see the animal. It wasn't on the floor. It wasn't on the gurney. Where are you? I whispered. Above you. I looked up. Clinging to the ceiling of the ambulance, digging its claws into the padded lining, was the wolf. But it wasn't a wolf. In the flashes of the passing headlights, I saw it. It had no fur. Its skin was pale, wet, and stretched tight over jagged bones. Its limbs were too long, bending in extra places. But the face, it was looking through the mesh right at me. The face was a perfect copy of mine. It was me, staring back at me. But the eyes were yellow, and the mouth was filled with rows of needle-thin teeth. Open the window, Sarah, the thing said, using my own mouth. I want to sit up front. I screamed. I didn't care about the job anymore. I didn't care about the van. I slammed the accelerator to the floor. The speedometer climbed. 80, 90, 100. I have to crash, I thought. If I crash, someone will come. The police will come. The thing hissed. It dropped from the ceiling, landing with a heavy thud on the floor of the ambulance. It lunged at the partition. The steel mesh bowed inward. Clang. It hit it again. Clang. The bolts holding the partition to the frame screeched. I grabbed my phone. I tried to dial 911, but my fingers were too sweaty. I dropped the phone. It slid under the brake pedal. I'm coming in, Sarah, the thing growled. I saw Picacho Peak looming in the distance. The jagged silhouette against the stars. There's a truck stop there. Bright lights. People. I just had to make it 5 more miles. Crack. One of the bolts popped. The mesh swung loose on the top right corner. A pale, long hand reached through. The fingers were like spider legs. They groped blindly for my hair. I swerved the van violently to the left, then to the right, trying to knock it off balance. I heard it tumble and slam into the cabinets in the back. Glass shattered. Oxygen tanks clanged together. I saw the exit sign. Picacho Peak Road, 1 mile. I didn't signal. I cut across 3 lanes and took the off-ramp at 80 miles an hour. The van tilted on 2 wheels. I thought we were going to flip. I prayed we would flip. The tires caught the pavement, and the van slammed back down. I saw the gas station. The glorious, neon-lit Dairy Queen and Shell station. There were trucks parked there. There were people walking into the store. I didn't brake until the last second. I screeched into the parking lot, narrowly missing a fuel pump, and slammed the van into a concrete bollard in front of the convenience store. The airbag exploded in my face. Dust and white powder filled the cab. My ears were ringing. I clawed at the door handle, falling out of the van onto the oil-stained concrete. I scrambled backward, crab-walking away from the vehicle. Help! I screamed. Help me. It's loose. A trucker in a flannel shirt ran over to me. Lady, you okay? What happened? In the back. I pointed at the ambulance. The back doors. He looked at the van. Smoke was rising from the radiator. The back of the van was silent. He walked cautiously toward the rear doors. Don't open it. I shrieked. But he didn't listen. He pulled the handle. The doors swung open. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the screams. Waiting for the blood. But there was nothing. Just silence. Hey lady, the trucker said. There ain't nothing in here. I opened my eyes. I stood up on shaky legs and walked over, hiding behind the trucker. The back of the ambulance was a wreck. Cabinets were torn open, supplies scattered everywhere. The steel crate was dented and open. But it was empty. Wait, the trucker said. He pointed his flashlight at the floor. There were footprints. Bloody footprints. They started at the crate, went to the partition, and then they went to the side door. The side door of the van was slightly ajar. It got out, I whispered. I quit that night. I left the van there. I called a friend to pick me up. I told the police a coyote ran in front of me, and I swerved. I didn't tell them about the voice. I didn't tell them about the face. The clinic tried to sue me for the damages and the lost specimen. But the lawsuit was dropped a week later. No explanation. Just a non-disclosure agreement they wanted me to sign in exchange for my final paycheck. I signed it. I just wanted it to be over. But it's not over. Because I live in Tucson now. I work a desk job. I don't drive at night. But last night, I was taking out the trash. I live near the edge of town, where the desert starts. I heard a noise near the dumpster. A scratching sound. I froze. Sarah, a voice whispered from the shadows. It was my voice. I forgot to tip the driver. I ran inside and locked every door. I pushed the sofa against the front door. I know it's out there. It's looking for me. It's hungry. And the worst part is, I think it likes my face. I think it wants to wear it again. So if you're driving down I-10 at night, and you see a veterinary ambulance, stay away. And if you see something running alongside your car in the desert, something that looks like a wolf but runs on 2 legs, don't look at it. Just drive. Drive until the sun comes up.